In the anime, it was shown that normally after first acquiring this power, the user's enhanced perception will throw off their timing, causing them to overstress their bodies from trying to keep up the increased reaction time, forcing the user to adjust to properly move with it, assuming that the user is aware they have awakened the Sharingan. When first awakened, each Sharingan usually will have only one tomoe, although, in Obito's case, he immediately gained 2 tomoe in each of their eyes. Through training and continued use, the Sharingan will develop a second tomoe, and then, upon full maturation, a third. The Sharingan grants the wielder 2 broad abilities, the Eye of Insight and the Eye of Hypnotism. Although the abilities are not literally restricted to certain eyes, Madara noted that the Sharingan can only be used to its full potential when both eyes are together. Even within these 2 categories, there may exist several distinct, though similar abilities. With his left Mangekyo, he can use Tsukuyomi, an extremely powerful Dojutsu that distorts the victim's perception of time. With his right Mangekyo, he can use Amaterasu, creating inextinguishable black flames at the user's focal point. Because he awakened both his Mangekyo, he can use Susanoo. With his left Mangekyo, he can cast Amaterasu. With his right Mangekyo, he can shape the flames or extinguish them. Because he awakened both of his Mangekyo, he can use Susanoo. It's not known what the individual abilities of each of his eyes were, but he was able to use Susanoo and able to control the 9-tailed fox. It's not known what the individual abilities of each of Izuna's eyes were either, but he was most likely able to use Susanoo, thus making Madara's Susanoo perfect when receiving Izuna's eyes. Both eyes have access to Kamui, able to teleport targets to and from Kamui's dimension, though in different manners. The right eye is able to use close-range Kamui, teleporting the user or those they're in contact with. By teleporting only parts of their body there, they can in effect, seamlessly pass through other matter. The left eye is able to use long-range Kamui, creating a barrier around the target that teleports them. The left eye can also target the user themselves. During the Fourth Shinobi World War, it was discovered that each eye is impervious against the other's Kamui. But the eyes are destroyed when he is killed by Kaguya's all-killing ash bones. His spirit briefly returns to the living plane and inhabits Kakashi, giving him both Mangekyos with their respective abilities and, by extension, perfect Susanoo. Naka's Mangekyo Sharingan greatly resembles that of Itachi Uchiha, as it seems to be a negative form of Itachi's Mangekyo Sharingan, the only other differences being its pupil, having a circle around it and the blade shapes being wider. Rai also had access to the Mangekyo Sharingan. Its design was 3 thin lines inwardly swirling towards the pupil and 3 thicker swirls in the same manner. Baru awakened the Sharingan and was able to use the Uchiha clan's Izanagi technique. He also had the Mangekyo Sharingan, which appeared as a simple triangle with curves next to each of the triangle's sides. Unlike most known Mangekyo forms, the color of her Dojutsu is inverted. It is split down the middle in 3 and has an appearance similar to a 3-petal flower. She was also able to use one of the clan's kinjutsu, Izanami, which traps the target in an endlessly looped genjutsu with no hope of escaping unless they accept themselves. In the anime, Fugaku Uchiha had awakened his Mangekyo Sharingan after witnessing a sacrifice of his dear friend during the Third Shinobi World War. Although not much is known about his Mangekyo, Fugaku was confident it was strong enough to control the 9 tails. Shin is able to telekinetically manipulate any objects after first branding them with a special mark. With each of his eyes he could use Koto Matsukami, a powerful genjutsu that manipulates the target's thoughts completely without any, including the target, having the slightest idea that they were being controlled. However, this technique can't be used with the same eye, again, until after a prolonged period of time. In the anime, awakening the Mangekyo Sharingan in both eyes allowed him to use Susanoo. In the manga, Indra Otsutsuki was the first user of Mangekyo Sharingan. The individual abilities of each of his eyes were unknown, except that he was able to use Susanoo. When Madara's overusage of his Mangekyo during the Warring States period left him blind, this prompted his brother Izuna to bequeath Madara his eyes on his deathbed for the sake of preserving the clan, thus granting Madara the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. The straight tomoe of his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan granted him fluidity in his movements when fighting and a perfect Susanoo. The straight tomoe of his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan granted him fluidity in his movements when fighting, a higher chakra tank, and a better suited Susanoo with legs attached. Her normally blue eyes take on the white enlarged and featureless characteristics of the Byakugan. In the anime, she is seemingly able to activate it in stages, as initially, it appears as an unactivated Byakugan before developing the pronounced veins around her temple and dull pupils. With it, she possesses a near 360 degrees field of X-ray vision, except for a small, blind spot at the upper thoracic vertebrae, see through solid surfaces, and can even clearly perceive the chakra pathway system. The Byakugan gives the user a near 360 diameter field of vision, with one blind spot at the back of the neck above the first thoracic vertebra. The range of this vision varies between users and can be improved with training. In Part 1, Hinata Hyuga can see targets 50 meters away. By Part 2, she can see targets 10 kilometers away. Its vision can penetrate through most solid objects and obstructions, though certain barriers may distort the Byakugan's perception. The Byakugan is able to follow high-speed movements, which allows the user to better react to them. The Tenseigan allows the user to control attractive and repulsive forces, similar to the Rinnegan's Deva path. With the complete Tenseigan, the user is able to enter Tenseigan Chakra mode, which grants the user enhanced physical capabilities as well as a number of truth-seeking balls, comprised of all 5 nature transformations and yin-yang release. By infusing the balls with Tenseigan Chakra, it is possible to utilize additional powerful techniques. The Tenseigan is also capable of moving the moon towards the earth, as well as powering a gigantic golem. Possessing the Rinnegan grants the user a family of abilities collectively known as the 6 Paths technique, control over attractive and repulsive forces with the Deva path, the ability to mechanize one's body with the Ashura path, soul extraction through the human path, the menagerie of summons available to the animal path, chakra absorption through the Preta path, and access to the King of Hell through the Naraka path. These abilities can be distributed to the 6 paths of pain, 6 bodies embedded with black receivers, which the user can control remotely. A 7th ability, the Outer Path, is said to allow the user to preside over life and death, granting the ability to revive the dead. The user is also able to summon and control the demonic statue of the Outer Path, as well as manifest chakra chains to bind the tailed beasts. The Rinnegan also grants the user a shared field of vision with the 6 Paths of Pain, the King of Hell, and the Animal Path's summons, all of which possess copies of the Rinnegan. Sasuke's Rinnegan grants him access to the 6 Paths techniques, though he's only been seen briefly using the Preta path to absorb chakra and the Deva path to create Shibaku Tensei or make use of the attractive force in the anime. He can use it to see invisible targets, repel the effects of the infinite Tsukuyomi, and turn his Susanoo into a vessel for the tailed beast's chakra, much like the demonic statue of the Outer Path. he can sense Naruto's chakra through dimensions and accordingly travel dimensions by himself or with others. In Boruto, Naruto the movie, these interdimensional portals manifest as dark oval-shaped spirals. His most frequent usage of his Rinnegan is for a Minato Yikara, which allows him to instantly swap places with anything in a specific range. With his Rinnegan, Momoshiki could use all 5 elemental nature transformations easily through absorbing his enemy's elemental techniques. Momoshiki wielded a pair of Rinnegan in the palms of his hands, which he could use to absorb ninjutsu with his right, and utilize said techniques with his left. Also with his right Rinnegan, he could turn a target into edible pills, which when eaten, grants him youth and their chakra, increases his muscular tissue. The Ten Tails was revived by Obito. Its eye was consistently depicted with only 6 tomoe. This may be a result of the beast being revived in an incomplete form due to the demonic statue of the outer path having absorbed only fragments of Gyuki and Kurama's chakra. The Rinne-Sharingan possesses the ocular power of the Sharingan, and can be used to cast the infinite Tsukuyomi, an extremely powerful genjutsu, which can only be countered by the Rinnegan and the chakra of the 9-tailed beasts. Using this Dojutsu, Kaguya can transport herself and those in her vicinity to a series of alternate dimensions. Shion has a Dojutsu that allows her to see a select person's future. Usually this activated involuntarily to show her the person's eventual death. When activated, her eyes change into a violet, ornate, pupil. Yomi has a Dojutsu that allows her to dilate her pupils and track down enemies via the reflection on tiny water droplets. Yomi can also use this ability to augment her evasion skills during combat. Ranmaru possessed a Dojutsu Kekkei Genkai, which, when activated, causes his eyes to glow red in color. It grants him abilities, such as penetrative vision, as well as the ability to hinder other Dojutsu such as the Byakugan, which his own Dojutsu has been likened to. The Kerryugan confers Genjutsu casting abilities. Its power earned it comparison to the 3 great Dojutsu. The Kerryugan also gave the users the ability to manipulate the user's blood, or more accurately the iron in the blood, allowing the user to not only manipulate their blood, but any liquid with high iron concentration.